African-American couple making a decision that for an entire year, it will only patronize black-owned businesses.
This is a social initiative and an experiment where we have essentially become guinea pigs to follow, and try to prove out from an empirical perspective, how self-help economics can ultimately help the African-American community.
We want people all over America to be able to buy from black businesses, and I think that until the black community takes some ownership and tries to give the black businesses a chance to even make it and grow, that kind of thing is never going to happen.
Sometimes it seems we'll touch that dream, but things come slow and not at all. They come slow, and the ones on top won't make it stop. So convinced that they might fall.
Here, honey.
Maggie, a stay-at-home mom, is a business consultant with 2 degrees, an MBA and a law degree from the University of Chicago. John, a financial advisor, holds degrees from Harvard and Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management.
Next year, we are going to only support black businesses and black professionals to start really pushing more of our money back into the black community.
Couple says they want to solve what they call the crisis in the black community. They want to, as they say, buy black. The African-American couple from Oak Park travel farther than they need to in order to make purchases from black-owned businesses.
A growing number of African-Americans have decided to only support black businesses. We looked at one family's year of buying black.
Liquor store, funeral home. Liquor store, funeral home. This is what the black community is. I want to change this.
This is crime-stricken West Chicago, not so far from Barack Obama's Chicago home, where Maggie Anderson is implementing her own plan for change in America, a crusade to resurrect black-owned businesses.
For the past 6 months, my family has been living off of black businesses. For the next 6 months, we're going to do the same thing. This year-long project we call the Empowerment Experiment.
First of all, this is an academic exercise that we're trying to bear out, from a statistical standpoint, how, if more dollars are reinvested in particularly underserved black communities, that we can bridge a lot of the social gaps.
Which is Magic Johnson's whole thing about trying to build more businesses.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So for some people, it may be a controversial method, but it's definitely a laudable goal.
Good to have you both with us. What got you doing this, guys?
Well, actually, this pledge came out of a conversation that happens in a lot of African-American black middle-class households. We're talking about ways we can give back to our community. And for us, we were just very frustrated with the asymmetry between all of the awesome black talent, all of these wonderful black resources that's approaching now $1 trillion in black buying power, and what's actually reinvested in and represented in our community. So our frustration with that asymmetry, and are just wondering if we just try to support black businesses, maybe we can do something to give back to those underserved communities we care about and come from.
A Chicago couple is conducting an economic experiment. They're trying to make all of their purchases from black-owned businesses. Here's the question, can they do it? Here's another question, should they do it? CNN's Susan Rosegen has details.
I also need some shrimp.
Maggie Anderson better have all the items on her list before she leaves the supermarket. Because if she doesn't, it's a long way back. Anderson has to drive 20 minutes from her home to the only grocery where she'll shop, the one that has a black owner. She'll also drive out of her way to eat at a black-owned restaurant, get clothes cleaned at a black-owned dry cleaners, and keep her money in a black-owned bank.
You know what, she's...
Maggie and her husband John have made a public pledge to try to buy only from black-owned businesses for 1 year. They call it the Empowerment Experiment. empowering black communities by supporting their businesses. Critics call it an experiment in racism.
We're not advocating that anybody make purchases along racial lines. Okay, that's not what we're advocating. What we are advocating, though, is that African Americans do have a higher sense of duty to support black businesses that are investing in the community.
But the goal is the same.
At the end of the day, this is just about people, in the African American community getting their representative share of the American dream.
And I read that you thought that even some people you knew, some others that you didn't know, trying to start businesses, African Americans, they weren't taken seriously or they weren't viable businesses because they couldn't get enough people to go along with them. One reason behind this?
Well, to the extent that that has to do with us, we have to cure that. We do believe that, of course, the crazy failure rates of black businesses and the difficulty it is to get one started may have to do with our history here and lack of access to capital and networks. But to the extent that it has to do with black, predominantly middle-class folks, not supporting those businesses because of stereotypes or just not knowing that they're there, that's a problem.
But sometimes as I live this new life, as I make sure that my money enriches my community, as I defend this concept on CBS News with Katie Couric, as I read the hate mail and wonder whether some lunatic might actually act on his fear of a thriving black community, as I travel leaving my husband and my girls so I can share our journey with our people, as I grow more saddened as I see firsthand the plight of black business and the sight of my people who are struggling just to hold it together, as I have to find a way to explain to my 4-year-old that she's not gonna have a Chuck E. Cheese birthday party, she's gonna have a Kenny Johnson's Little Jim birthday party this year, and why it's gonna be all the better.
We've been able to, find quality black business to meet all of our basic and daily needs.
Bless your heart. Yeah, buy black.
Buy
like
black.
that.
All we need is dedication. Let me tell you that everything is everything.
Are you going to even think about it? But we just can't imagine now not every day doing something to support our community. Just in buying groceries, in going to the gas station, in opening a checking account.
So as urban communities and urban development proliferate, then we win as a society.
We spent about $5,000 so far. I hope that other families will start doing what we're doing, and that at the end of the year, we can showcase to the world millions of dollars directly infused into black communities. People think differently about black business now. People are talking about economic development in the black community. People have hope, and we have an example of what we did. Look at these millions of dollars. You can have a wonderful life, but just try to make little sacrifices to support those businesses that are going to churn out more role models for our kids. Otherwise, things are just going to stay the same.